And regarding your first part of the question, that all religious scriptures speak good, so it's useless talking about religious scriptures. I don't agree with you. I have given a lecture on status of women in Islam and other religion, and I've compared the status of women in Islam as compared to Hinduism, to Buddhism, to Christianity, and to Judaism. And there I've compared. And you yourself can be the judge. If you have opportunity to hear that lecture, you can hear that lecture. You yourself can judge which religion gives the maximum rights. Even if you agree theoretically, Islam gives the maximum right. Now we have to practically follow it. There are people who are following certain aspects. Certain aspects people aren't following it. For example, the Islamic law, where it comes to criminal punishment and civil rights, Saudi government is doing very good, alhamdulillah. Even they are deviating away from the Quran in certain aspects. What we have to do is we have to take the practical example of Saudi government as the Islamic law of criminal punishment, and if it's practicable, apply it throughout the world. And check another society which is practicing the Islamic law in the social aspect. And if it's the best, you apply it to the other world. What we have gathered here, brother, is to make you realize this law is the best law. If we are not putting in practice, we are to blame, not the religion. So that's why we have called the people, so that they will understand Quran and the Hadith in the right practice. They will understand Quran and the Hadith in the right way and put it into practice. I hope that answers the question.
The next question from the top, please.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Saima Qadri, and my question is that why there are no women prophets in Islam?
No women prophets.
Sister posed the question, why are there no women prophets in Islam? If by prophets you mean that a person who receives the message and who acts like a leader to the people, then I can say for sure that in Islam we have got no women prophets. And I think it's right, because if a woman has to be a prophet, the Quran clearly states that man is the leader of the family. So if the man is the leader in the family, how can he lead the whole people? How can a woman lead the whole people? Come to the second part. A prophet has to even lead the congregational prayers. And as I said earlier, that there are certain postures like Qiyam, Ruku, Sujood, standing, bowing, and doing the Sujood prostration, which if a woman prophet does, the congregation behind will get disturbed. There are situations like the prophet has to meet with the common man very regularly. If it's a woman prophet, Islam does not allow intermingling of sexes. If the prophet is a lady, and if she gets pregnant, but natural, she will not be able to do her duties for a few months. If she has children, it will be difficult for her to do the duty of the mother as well as the prophet. And a man is more capable of doing the duty of the prophet and the father as compared to a woman who does the duty of a mother as well as the prophet. But if you mean that a prophet is a person who's chosen and who's pure and holy, then there are several examples. And the best example I can quote is of Bibi Maryam. May Allah be pleased with her. It is mentioned in Surah Imran, chapter number 3, verse number 42. وَإِذْ قَالَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ يَا مَرْيَمُ, and behold, the angel said, O Mary, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اسْتَفَاكِ وَطَهَّرَكِ وَاسْتَفَاكِ لَنِسَاءِ الْعَالَمِينَ, that Allah has chosen thee and purified above the women of all nations. If you mean a prophet is a person who's chosen and purified, then we have the example of Bibi Maryam. May Allah be pleased with her, who was the mother of Jesus, may peace be upon him. We have other examples. If you read in Surah Tahrim, chapter number 66, verse number 11, it says that as an example for the believers is the wife of the Pharaoh, Bibi Asiya. May Allah be pleased with her. She prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make for me in nearness to thee a mansion in the garden and save me from the Pharaoh and his evil things. Imagine, she was the wife of the most powerful person of that time, Pharaoh. and she rejects all the luxury and asks for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in exchange a mansion in the garden. According to Islam, there are 4 perfect women besides Bibi Maryam and Bibi Asiya. May Allah be pleased with them. The other examples are of Bibi Fatima and Bibi Khadija. May Allah be pleased with them both. Hope that answers the question.
There are quite a few people asking they would feel shy to come up to the mic, and we should start asking questions from the chits. Inshallah, after the next 3 questions, it would be alright to start our secondary preference session 2. The next question.
My name is Samir. I'm a student. I'd like to ask this question. You have put there is an upper limit in Islam for man to marry 4 wives. But why did the Prophet Muhammad have 11 wives? And there is an insinuation that he was hypersexual.
The brother asked the question that since Islam allows a maximum of 4 wives, how come Prophet Muhammad had 11 wives? I do agree with the brother that the Quran mentioned Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 3, that you can maximum have 4 wives. But there's another verse in Surah Azab, chapter number 33, verse number 52, which says that, O Prophet, you cannot marry more women. Neither can you exchange any other woman for the present one, even if the beauty attracts you, except what your right hand possesses. This verse of the Quran, Surah Azab, chapter number 33, verse number 52, gives the permission to the Prophet to keep all his wives, but at the same time cannot marry any other woman except which your right hand possesses. If you analyze why Prophet Muhammad was not allowed to marry more wives, and besides that he could not neither divorce them, because there's one more verse in the Quran which says that as for the wives of the Prophet, whether they're divorced or whether they become widow, no person can marry them, because they're Ummul Mu'mineen, they are the mother of the believers. So since no one could marry the wives of the Prophet, but natural, the Prophet could not divorce them also. And if you analyze that all the 11 marriages which the Prophet did, all were either for social reform, were for political reasons, were not to please his sex. The first marriage that he did was with Bibi Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her. She was at the age of 40 when he was only 25, and she was a widow twice. Imagine, if he married for sex, why would he marry a woman who was 15 years elder to him and who was a widow twice? And if you analyze, till the time Bibi Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, till the time she was alive, Prophet Muhammad did not take any other wives. When he was the age of 50, Bibi Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, she expired. Only between the age of 53 to 56 did Prophet take all the other wives. Imagine, if the Prophet was hypersexual, he would have married at a young age. Science tells us the older the man gets, the less sexual he gets. It's an insinuation on the Prophet. Only 2 of his marriages were normal. That with Bibi Khadija and that with Bibi Aisha. May Allah be pleased with them both. All the other marriages were due to circumstances, either of a social reform or a political gain. If you analyze all, only 2 wives were below the age of 36. All the other wives were between the age of 36 and 50. You can give instances. Each marriage had some reason. For example, Bibi Jawariya, who was from the Banu Mustalik tribe, which was a very powerful tribe and which was at loggerheads with Islam. After a certain time, they were suppressed by the Islamic army. And later on, the Prophet married her. And after he married her, the companion said, how can we keep as captives the relatives of the Prophet? And they freed those people. And after that, both these tribes became friendly. There are examples when he married Bibi Maimunah, may Allah be pleased with her, who was the sister of the wife of the chief of the tribe of Najd, which killed 70 Muslim men of the Islamic deputation. After Muhammad, may peace be upon him, when he married her, they accepted Medina as the leadership and they accepted Prophet as the leader. All the marriages which he did had some political reason or social reform. He married Habiba, who was the daughter of the chief of Mecca, Abu Sufyan. But naturally, this marriage played a great importance in the conquest of Mecca. Other example, like Bibi Safiya, may Allah be pleased with her, she was the daughter of a powerful Jewish leader. After this, the Jewish became very friendly with the Muslims. If you see, all the marriages had some social reform. He married the daughter of Hazrat Umar, Hafsa, may Allah be pleased with her, to get closer relationship between the companions. As a social reform, he married a lady who was divorced, the first cousin Zainab. After she was divorced, he married her. All the marriages have some political reason or social reform. So all his marriages were based to improve the community and to better relationship. It was not for sex. Hope that answers the question.
The next question, please.
I am Hasina for Awaz-e-Niswa and law students. I am asking you two questions, Mr. Zakir Naik. Okay. In what ways is the practice of polygamy determinantal beneficial to women?
Sister has asked a question, in what way is polygamy beneficial to the woman? Correct?
Yes. Yes. And another question, why do you think, why do you think women enter into polygamous marriages?
First she asked that why is polygamy beneficial to the woman, is why if a man marries more than one husband, how is it benefiting the woman? It's helping her to keep herself modest. Because if every man married one woman, there will be millions of women in the world who will not find husband. And the only option for them is to become public property. So polygyny is allowed in Islam to protect the modesty of the female, to prevent them from becoming public properties. Hope that answers the question.
Next question from the brother on the left.
My name is Muhammad Ashraf. My question is adoption allowed in Islam?
Brother asked the question, is adoption allowed in Islam? If by adoption you mean that you take a young child, a poor child, and giving lodging, boarding, clothing, bring him to a house, Islam has always stressed in the Quran that you should help the poor people, help the needy people. You can even get a child to your house and give him your fatherly love. What Islam objects to is, you cannot legally adopt. You cannot give your name to the child. Legal adoption is prohibited in Islam. Why? Because if a person adopts a child legally, there can be several complications. First is that the child, whether it's a girl or boy, it will lose its identity. Point number two, if suppose after you adopt a child, you may have your own children, no one can say that you will never have children throughout your life. If you have your own children, you will be biased towards your own child than the adopted child. Point number three, if the children born to you, if they're opposite sex as that of the adopted child, they cannot freely stay in the same house because they aren't blood sisters and brothers to each other. If the adopted child, after he grows up, if it's a girl, after she grows up, she will have to do hijab with the so-called father because he is not his original father. If the adopted child is a man, if it's a boy and he becomes elderly, becomes a man, and then if he marries, again, there has to be hijab between the daughter-in-law and the so-called father. And there are several other reasons. And besides that, if you adopt a child, you will be depriving many of your relatives of the right. Because after a person dies, whatever property he has is divided according to whatever is mentioned in the Quran. If the person has children and if he adopts a child, but natural, he will be depriving a share of his own child. if the person, if he died, if he had no children, then the wife will get half the share as she should get if she had no children, including the mother. If there are children, she gets 1/6. If there are no children, she gets 1/3. Again, if you adopt a child, you are depriving the share of your mother. So to prevent these complications, legal adoption is prohibited in Islam.
The next question.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Kamal Sayyed, Deputy Secretary, Home Department. In your elegant speech, you had mentioned that for a divorced woman, after the divorce, the husband looks after her during the period of iddat. Maintenance allowance is given to her. But after iddat, I presume that the parents are supposed to look after the girl. In case the parents don't have the provisions to look after the girl, I would ask you, what is the girl supposed to do?
Sister asked a very good question. That suppose a lady is divorced, it is the duty of the husband to provide support till the iddah period, which lasts for maybe 3 months or till pregnancy. After that, as I mentioned in my lecture, it is the duty of the the duty of the father or the brother to look after her. If suppose the father and the brother are unable to look after such ladies, it is the duty of the other close relatives to look after her. If the other close relatives not look after her, it's the duty of the ummah, Muslim ummah, that we should set up organizations and have zakat funds with which we can look after such ladies. Even if this does not work, it's the duty of the Islamic State as the last resort to look after such ladies. Hope that answers the question.
Now we would start with some questions from the slips which have come. We'll have one question from the slip and one from the speaker, then again one from the slip, one from the speaker, one from the slip, one from the speaker, and so on.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Sayyid Riyaz Teki. I'm in business. As you said, and as I know, that in Islam men and women are equal. So why is it that a woman in Islam is not entitled to equal property rights? Thank you.
Brother posed a question that I said that in my lecture that economical rights of women and men are equal. So how come she is not entitled to an equal right when it comes to inheritance? And normally people say that the woman gets half the share as compared to that of the male. The answer to this question is given in the Quran, in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 11 and 12, which gives the guidelines how the inheritance should be divided. It says Allah has ordained for you as regarding our children's inheritance. For a female, a share, half of that of the male. And if only daughters, 2 or more, they share in a 2/3. If only one, they get half. And the verse continues. And 1/6 share for the parents if the deceased has children. If you have no children, if the deceased has no children, mother gets 1/3. If the deceased has brothers and sisters, mother gets 1/6. And the verse continues, verse number 12 says, as in what your wife leaves, your share is half if there are no children, and your share is 1/4 if there are children. As in what you leave for your wife's share is 1/4 if there are no children, and 1/8 if there are children. In short, most of the time, the female gets half the share of the male counterpart, but not in all cases. For example, for a uterine brother and sister, both get 1/6. If the deceased has got no ascendant or descendant, both get equal share. If the deceased has got no children, both mother and father get equal share of 1/6. And in certain cases, if the person who has died is a lady who has got no children, the husband gets half, the mother gets 1/3, and the father gets 1/6. That means there are cases in which the woman even gets double than that of the male counterpart. That the mother gets double than that of the father. But I agree with you, in most of the cases, the female gets half the share as compared to the man, where it's considered to daughter and a wife. The answer to this is that since man is held responsible for the financial aspects of the family, And in order not to do injustice to the man, Allah has given a higher share to the man as compared to the woman. Otherwise, we'll have to have a lecture on the rights of men. I'd like to give you an example. Suppose a person dies, and after the property has been distributed, the share of the children remaining is 1.5 lakh. And that person has 2 children, 1 son, 1 daughter. According to the Islamic Sharia, the son gets 1 lakh rupees and the daughter gets 50,000 rupees. But out of the 1 lakh rupees which the son receives, he has to spend maybe the majority of it on looking after his family. Maybe 80,000 of 1 lakh he has to spend on looking after the family. But that lady, when she receives 50,000, she does not have to spend a single pie on looking after her family.
The next question we'll ask from the chat. We would request you to put brief questions, and I would request our speaker to give brief answers, because we have only about 25 minutes left for the question answer session. This is from Bijay from IIT Powai, Bombay. He asks, Islam does not allow intermingling of sex in workplace. Is this modernizing or outdated? Please explain. Another connected question is, can a woman work as an air hostess since it is a decent and highly paid job? This is from Sujat.
Regarding the first question, that Islam does not allow intermingling of sexes. Is this modernizing or outdated? If you mean by modernizing that you keep your women for sale, that you can intermingle with them, or you can even take the profession as modeling, then I feel that Islam is outdated. Because women, by the Western media, by the Western culture, they have said that they have given more rights to the women. They are raising the status of women. Actually, they're degrading it. According to statistics, it tells us that 50% of the women in America who go to universities and workplaces are raped. Do you know that? 50%. Why? Because most of the jobs in America involve intermingling of sexes. If you think that a lady should be raped, it's modernizing, then Islam is outdated. If you think not, then Islam is the most modernizing. Regarding the second part of the question, does Islam allow a woman to work as an air hostess since it's a highly paid job and a decent job? I do agree with the first part. I do agree it's very highly paid. But the second part, let's analyze. The air hostesses are normally chosen. Main criteria for selecting air hostess is beauty. You will never find an ugly air hostess. They are selected because they are young. They are selected because they are attractive. They are made to wear clothes which are against the Islamic ethics. They are made to wear cosmetics that attract the customers. They have to tend to certain needs of the passengers, which are mainly men, in which there is close approximately between the man and woman. And many a times, the gents passenger, unnecessarily, they involve in conversation with the air hostess. And even if the air hostess wants to give a fitting reply, she can't, because her job is at stake. Many a times, the passenger may say, "Madam, please tie my seat belt." The air hostess has no option, but she has to tie the seat belt. What's going to happen? There's going to be close proximity between the opposite sex. Many airlines also serve alcohol. Islam prohibits any man or woman to serve alcohol. That's the reason all the air hostesses are women. There are gents pursers, male pursers in the flight, but they rarely attend to the customers. They are in the kitchen. It's the opposite. In the plane, it's the opposite. In the plane, it's the opposite. And believe me, an airlines cannot do without employing ladies. Even the Saudi Airlines, supposed to be inverted commas, the most Islamic, supposed to be inverted commas, even they have ladies air hostesses. But since they can't have Saudi girls, it will be difficult. They import the girls. They are foreign air hostesses. Double standards. Double standards. You have no option. The airline is a profession in which you have to have ladies to attract the customers. And you'll be shocked to know that certain rules of the airlines, for example Indian Airlines as well as Air India, it states that after you are selected, you cannot marry for 4 years. Some airlines tell you that if you get pregnant, your job is terminated. Imagine. Some airlines say that you retire at the age of 35. Why? Because you're no longer attractive. Do you call it a decent job?
The next question, please.
In the name of Allah, most gracious, merciful and bountiful, Assalamu alaikum. I am Parveen Alavia, a practicing lawyer and a researcher in world religions. My question to you, Dr. Naik, is, you mentioned the solitary illustration of a woman who told the body that she was forced into a marriage and her marriage was allowed to be invalidated. This incident took place years ago. I wonder here, if possible, the body. Quran is the constitution of the rights of women and men. Is there a body? If so, name it, which also enforces the breakage and rights. Thank you.
Sister has asked a very good question. She has asked that about the rights of the woman. It's very well laid out in the Quran and the Hadith. And if a woman is forced into marriage, the marriage can be invalidated. Is there any body today existing which can invalidate such marriages? There are many bodies, example in Iran as well as in Saudi Arabia. Unfortunately, the Indian government doesn't allow the Muslim community to have such courts, though they are the Muslim personal law, but all the rights are not given. If you request the Indian government to allow us to have such boards out here in India, then inshallah even in India we'll have such bodies. They have given only certain rights, not all the rights.
The next question from the chat: is co-education allowed in Islam? This is from Rashid Sheikh, he's a student. Is co-education allowed in Islam?
Brother asked the question, is co-education allowed in Islam? Meaning, can male and female study in the same school, college or universities? First, let's analyze whether male and female can study in the same school. There was a report which came last year in the World This Week, and it gave the survey of the schools, both unisex schools as well as co-ed schools in the UK. And the survey said that the overall result of a unisex schools was much better than a co-ed school. When interviews were taken of the teachers, they said the students in unisex schools concentrated more than the co-ed schools. When interviews of the students were taken, they preferred studying in co-ed schools than unisex schools. And you know the reason very well why. And that survey continued. It said that people in co-ed schools spend more time in becoming popular with the opposite sex. And besides lack of concentration, they gave very smart answers to the teachers. And they spend more time in dating than in gaining education in school. And the last point of that survey was the UK government was thinking of setting up more unisex schools in the country. According to the American report, it said that girls in school spend more time in picking up illicit sex techniques from their classmates than acquiring knowledge from the teachers. In India, the same thing is happening to a greater or lesser extent. Let's analyze the males and females together in the colleges and universities. All the points I mentioned for schools, they are magnified when it comes to colleges and universities. According to a report of Newsweek, which was published on 17th of March 1980, on page number 50, it said that the sexual assault of the women in the universities was given, and it said, I won't repeat the full history of that report because time is short, but the main point is that lecturers and professors, they forced the ladies into sexual harassment in exchange for a better grade. Same thing is happening in India, in Bombay. And after they're sexually harassed, but natural, the concentration to education goes low. You had incidents last year which made the headline of the paper, I forgot the name of the college, in which a girl student was raped in the broad daylight by 4 or 5 students. in the college premises. And out, according to a report which came day before yesterday in the Times of India on the 26th of August, it repeated the report of New York Times. It said that 25% of the ladies that go to schools and universities in America are raped. My basic question is, do you want to send your child to a school to get educated, or do you want to send your child to the school to pick up illicit techniques or be sexually harassed? If it's the first, I would advise you to put them in unisex schools, and there are several of them in the city. Hope that answers the question.
I have an announcement to make. I would just like to inform you regarding this session. We have outside available for sale videotapes of Dr. Zakir Naik, which are available for sale at a discounted price of rupees 150 each. The topics covered are this cassette of the Bombay Union of Journalists debate on Is Religious Fundamentalism a Stumbling Block in the Freedom of Expression, when he spoke along with Dr. Vyas and Father Pereira, a Jesuit expert. Then we have Religion in the Right Perspective, given at a place in Nariman Point. We have Islam, the Universal Religion, at Mani Bhavan, organized by the Bombay Sarvodaya Mandal, and Al-Quran, Should It Be Read with Meaning, lecture given at the SNDT University Hall, Juhu. These are available for sale outside. We also have the Holy Quran, which is available on a hadiyah, a nominal hadiyah of rupees 150 each. This is the English Quran with the text and English translation by Abdullah Yusuf Ali along with its commentary. We know that we have quite a lot of questions coming up. There's a lot of interest, enthusiasms, but at the same time, I have to be pragmatic. We have our time limitations. We have with us next 10 to 15 minutes in which we have to complete this session. I would request we'll allow one question from this end, the next on the top, third year, and I think because it's a women rights session, we'll end with the lady on the top. In between, it will be interspersed with brief questions from the chits that I've received. Those who are interested in having further questions, I would like to inform them on this subject or on any subject of Islam and comparative religion. You are most welcome to attend our lectures, followed by question and answers, maybe in a smaller setting, on Fridays at 2:45 p.m. for ladies, every Friday that is, and every Saturday at 2:45 p.m. open for all, and on Sundays at 10:45 a.m. open for all, Muslims, non-Muslims, all are welcome, and in a very cordial and open atmosphere you are allowed to criticize, cross-examine, and openly discuss Islam and its values without offending the speaker or yourself. If you feel you can better educate that lecturer or the talkers there, we would be happy to be corrected, and we hope in the same spirit you would be able to discuss with a very open mind the problems we face in society and the world in general. And the next question, please.
Dr. Naik, my question is, for last 1400 years, 1400 years, only male ulamas have interpreted Quran and Hadith. Of course, I was enlightened by your speech in the beginning that Aisha ji was a religious scholar and she used to interpret. My question is, how many women, female ulamas or religious scholars are today to interpret Quran and Hadith? Today, how many? What is the percentage? And another thing, I'm finishing. This question arises from the Taslima of Bengal, that when she narrated something, Maulvi started shouting. There was not a lady ulema to, reply to these Maulvis or take the side of Taslima or anything. We have not read what Taslima said because we can't get all the literature here in India, either from Pakistan or from Bengal or anywhere. So we would like to read out.
Excuse me, I'd like you to ask directly. Excuse me, gentlemen. I'd like you to ask directly the question regarding Taslima Nasreen. What you would like to know? Ask the question directly.
Don't interview. Please, I'll make it short. I'm not. How many lady ulemas are there today to interpret Quran and Hadith, and what is their percentage in comparison to male? Thank you very much.
Uncle has asked a question that he agrees that at the time of the Prophet there were many ladies who not only interpreted the hadiths, they memorized. And Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, she herself has narrated on her authority itself only 2,210 hadiths are based only on her authority. The basic question is, how many ulamas, women do you have today? He wants to know the percentage. There are several lady ulamas and there are many Muslim organizations in Bombay as well as in Darul Ulum, in Nadwa, etc. in several places, as I saw Manatis in Bombay, several Muslim organizations which produce lady ulama. Percentage I don't know, but there are hundreds. Why didn't any, regarding my second part of the question, why didn't any lady support the cause for Taslima Nasreen? The first question arises, should she be supported? Regarding the answer for the question of Taslima Nasreen, this cassette is available outside in the foyer. This cassette, we had a debate in the Bombay Union of Journalists. Had a debate between myself and Dr. Vyas and Father Pereira as well as Ashok Shahani, who translated into Marathi Lajja. And many people objected, many people guided me that don't go to that debate, it will be a problem. They will misquote you, and believe me, I had two minds. But finally my father guided me, take the name of Allah and go, and I went. Alhamdulillah. It was only because of Allah's support that the debate was successful. It was so successful that not a single paper reported it. You know that? Not a single paper. There was the Times of India. There was the Indian Express. There was Mahanagar. Nikhil Wagle himself was there. There was UTI.
He's here today, Nikhil Wagle.
There was PTI also there. No one reported. Why? Because I did not say what they wanted. If I would have said what they wanted, it would have been headlines. Islamic scholar Dr. Zakir Naik and so and so. Because I didn't say what they wanted, no report. For the full answer, the cassette is available outside.
The last three questions. Is it only the husband? This is from Jennifer. It says, is it only the husband who can say triple talaq and get one? What has a woman to do if she wants to get divorce or talaq?
The sister has asked a question that a husband can divorce a woman. She has not asked about triple talaq, that's another answer. But the main question is, a husband can divorce. Can a woman also divorce? Or can she give talaq? A woman can't give talaq, because talaq is an Arabic word used for divorce when a man gives to a woman, husband gives to a wife. But a woman can divorce. There are 5 types of divorce in Islam. The first type is by unilateral agreement between the husband and wife. Both may say, okay, we aren't compatible, let's part. The second type is by the unilateral will of the husband, that's called a salah, in which he has to forego his meher. If he hasn't paid it, he has to pay it to her, and including the gifts he has given to her. Third type is by the unilateral will of the wife. I repeat, by the unilateral will of the wife, if she mentions it in her marriage contract. If she mentions it in a nikah nama, in a marriage contract, that she has the right to give unilateral divorce, she can give it. It's called as isma. I've never heard of anyone speaking about isma. It's called as isma. Even a woman can give divorce, isma. Third category is if the husband ill-treats her or does not give her equal rights, she has the right to go to a qazi and nullify the marriage. It's called as nikah fask. In this, according to the qazi, he may ask the husband to give the full mahr or part of the mahr depending upon the qazi. And the last is kulah, that even though the husband may be a very good husband, the wife has got no complaints against the husband, but for personal reason she does not like the husband, she can request the husband to divorce her, and that's called as kulah. But very few people talk about women giving divorce to the men. Some of the ulamas have categorized these 5 types of divorce into 2 or 3 different categories. But broadly, there are 5 types of divorce in Islam. Hope that answers the question.
We would now ask 2 very short questions again from the slips, and then we'll allow a last question to Zakir to give in very brief the answer to the question, why are women not allowed in the mosque?
The question asked is, why aren't women allowed in the mosque? And in brief, it's difficult. There is no statement in the Quran or the Sahih Hadith which prevents women from entering the mosque. Some people quote a particular hadith and say the Prophet said, it is better for the woman to pray in the house than the mosque. It is better for her to pray in the house, in her inner room, than in a house. They are taking hold only of one source and neglecting all the other sources. You should realize the context of this hadith. Prophet Muhammad also said that when you pray in the mosque in congregation, you get 27 times more sawab. So a lady questioned Prophet Muhammad, we have got infants, we have got household work, how can we go to the mosque? So in reply to this, the Prophet said that if a lady prays in the house, it's better than the mosque. It's preferable for her to pray in the room than the house. Because if she has infants or problems, she will get the same sawab. There are several hadiths which indicate that women were never prevented from entering the mosque. The hadith which says that prevent not the servant of Allah who are females from entering the mosque. And the hadith says, the Prophet ordained the husband that if your wife want to go to the mosque, do not prevent them. And several hadiths are there, I won't go into the details, but Islam gives permission for a woman to enter the mosque, but there are separate and equal facilities. We don't believe in intermingling of sexes. Why we don't believe, as the question was asked earlier, if we have intermingling of sexes, then as we know what happens in the other religious places, people come more for east-teasing and bird watching than to pray. Therefore, Islam does not believe in intermingling of sexes. There are separate entrances for man and woman, separate places of wudu, ablution for man and woman. Man and woman are made to stand separately. And a woman can't stand in the front, because a woman stands in front, but natural, the man behind will be disturbed. In Islam, when we pray, we stand shoulder to shoulder. And the medical doctors will tell us that the female has 1 degree higher temperature. If you have a lady next to you, you will feel warm and soft. Instead of concentrating on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you concentrate on the lady. That's why in Islam, the woman has to stand behind. You go to Saudi Arabia, women are allowed in the mosque. You go to London, women are allowed in the mosque. You go to America, women are allowed in the mosque. It's only in India that they're prevented, and a few countries close by. You go to the Haram Sharif, in Mecca, in Masjid Nabawi, they're allowed. But Alhamdulillah, there are few mosques in India, even in Bombay, which have started allowing women in the mosque. Hope the other mosques will follow.
Thank you. The next question.
Excuse me, I would like to ask this question, please. This question comes from a student of College of Social Work. This meeting is on women's rights in Islam. But I believe that most of the questions have satisfied our male audience. As far as practicality is involved, that is an infinite series of argument will go on if you are going to look at that.
If you could put your question, we'll try to satisfy that.
This question,
you just put your question because we have a very short time. You put your
this question goes to Islamic Research Foundation. I want to ask that this meeting is on women's rights in Islam, and why isn't there any single woman sitting on the stage? Why do we have male panel only on the stage? And we believe that this doesn't satisfy our female audience for whom the meeting is organized.
The sister posed the question that why aren't women sitting on the stage in this function? Because there's no woman speaker today, sister. We have programs in IF on Fridays we have programs in organization on Friday where the lady speakers, and there the ladies speak. Here, I'm supposed to speak on the topic, and I'm a gent, alhamdulillah, I'm not a female. And the chief guest also, alhamdulillah, Justice M.M. Qazi, and the coordinator, all are men. There are programs in which females speak, and we have female speakers as well as female chief guests. Inshallah, when we have a program next time, we invite you for that.
The next question is, if talaq, is it necessary for the husband to take permission of the first wife before marrying the second? In brief, please.
The question poses, is it necessary for the husband to take the permission of the first wife before marrying? It is not compulsory for the husband to take the permission of the first wife before marrying, because Quran says the only reason, the only condition for a person in which he can take more than one wife is he should be just between his wives. But it is preferable that he takes the permission. And it's his duty to inform his first wife that he's marrying. Because Islam says if you have more than one wife, you have to do justice. And if the permission is given by the first wife, but natural, there will be more cordial relationship between the husband and both the wives. But it is not compulsory, except in one condition. Except in one condition. If the wife mentions in a marriage contract that I do not want you to take any other wife as long as I am there, then it becomes compulsory for the husband to take the permission of the wife before marrying. Otherwise, in all of the cases, it is not compulsory, it's preferable.
The next question in brief, please, in one line.
My name is Yawar Hussain. When men and women are not allowed to mingle, so as to how women were allowed to mingle in the battlefield in the past.
Brother asked the question that Islam does not allow intermingling of sexes. How come they intermingled in the battlefield? If you heard my speech correctly, brother, I said even in the battlefield they were doing hijab. There was a slight concession given. If you read Sahih Bukhari, it said that the feet of the women were seen. Normally even the feet are covered. So Islam gives a concession that during battlefield, since women even rode horses, the feet were seen. So Islam gives little leniency, but they go intermingle like what they do in the American army. They had to maintain the Islamic ethics as well as the Islamic dress code.
We'll allow this as a last question. Video culture, films, songs, novels, magazine, co-education have filled the present situation with sexual anarchy. Is it recommendable in these circumstances to allow our children, especially daughters, to get married by their own free will? This is Muhammad Aslam Ghazi.
The brother asked the question that since in the world of science and technology, and we have so many films on sex, etc., is it advisable to allow the daughter to have her own free choice in marriage? I told you that the parent can surely give guidance, can guide their daughters in marriage. They can't force them. And how do you know that the parent is always right? So here Islam gives permission that the parents can guide their children in marriage, but they can't force, because it's finally the daughter who has to live with the husband, not the parent.
We'll allow a last quick one-line question from the top, and then we have the vote of thanks.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Mrs. Razia Khan. According to Muslim personal law, only the father is natural guardian of his children. Why?
So sir posed the question, according to the Muslim personal law, only father is the natural guardian. It is wrong, sister. According to Islamic Sharia, if a child in its initial stages, approximately the age of 7, if he's below the age of 7, the guardianship goes to the mother, because a mother's responsibility is more than the father's responsibility in the initial stage. After that, the guardianship goes to the father. And after he becomes matured, it is the free will of the child. He chooses himself or she chooses herself who she wants to be with. But during this course, Islam says that irrespective of the child is with the father or the mother, the child is allowed to meet with both the parents. Hope that answers the question.
I would like to thank all of you who gave in so many questions. I've yet so many questions in balance, so many people standing on the side. We're sorry we cannot continue on because of time restrictions of this hall.
And we would welcome you to come to the IRF, and we would love to answer these questions in humble demeanor. I would like to say that we would have loved to answer all your questions throughout the day. There are time limitations to this hall. I thank you all. I especially thank Justice Qazi, an eminent jurist, to be present here to speak to and support our women rights program. I thank the hall management, the video team present here, and all of you present who have made this program so lively with your enthusiasm and interest. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair.